This particular partner works with 2 private schools and some nonprofit organizations. And he says that these types of entities don't necessarily have deep pockets. And the leadership of these types of organizations, he referred to them as bean counters. And they don't really understand the benefits, even if you talk about risk and reward scenarios with them. This partner goes on to say that they have been clients of his for some time. He's going to be slowly increasing the costs to allow them to budget for these increases, but he says it's going to take him a couple of years to get to the desired, dollar amount that he wants. And so his challenge, what he told me was, I don't want to lose them as a customer, but I also don't want their organizations to be hacked. So how should he handle this situation? So again, thinking about my response for this, and kind of a little cautionary note here. I'm going to be a little tough love here, because I can appreciate the predicament that this particular partner is in, but I think this really comes down to basic numbers and what you define as acceptable risk for your business. This partner says that he's going to be gradually increasing the rates, but it's still going to be a couple of years yet before he gets them paying what they should be paying. And he also says that he doesn't want to lose them as a customer, but he also doesn't want them to be hacked either. So some little reflection questions, that I had as I was kind of thinking myself through this, what services are you currently delivering to them now as it relates to cybersecurity? Are you delivering at least the minimum program that we talk about, that minimum viable security program in my bootcamp, that essential security program? Does the services you're providing them at least address and cover those 5 layers, surrounding their data? And in that bootcamp, we talk about those 5 layers surrounding and protecting the data: the internet layer, the network layer, the people layer, the application layer, and the device layer. And I guess that maybe another way that I want to phrase this is, with the services that you're providing to your clients today, are they sufficient? Are they good in terms of helping to protect them from an attack, or to help them recover in a quick enough manner if an attack happens? Or because of what they're paying and because of their limited budget, is there holes in their current protection coverage? Are there weaknesses? Are they a weak link when it comes to their current protection coverage? And so if the answer is there are holes in their current protection coverage, that there are some of those layers that are not protected or underprotected, and that the services that you're providing them are inefficient from bouncing back from an attack in a quick and as less of an impact as possible, then there's a very high risk to those individuals that they are going to be hacked. And when that happens, that's going to be on you, because in effect, you allowed it to happen. And as a result of this, you're placing your MSP in a very high risk situation as well. And so in saying this, hopefully, with what you've done with these customers that, they're not paying you, or you're trying to increase their monthly fee with you, hopefully you've had a discussion with them and you've talked to them about what they should be in. And hopefully you have something where they've signed it, something documented that says that they acknowledge that they are non-compliant. I'm using this term again, that they're non-compliant to your security standards. And therefore they acknowledge this and they're willing to accept the risk and the consequences of that risk. Because my feeling is, if they can't pay the true cost of your cybersecurity program now, how are they ever going to pay you when they get ransomed? Because that's going to happen. And you need to come in and try and remediate things and get them back up and running. Are you going to work at a discounted rate then too? Are you going to do it for free? Whereas if you are providing the essentials program at a minimum, so you do know that there's security coverage, you're confident, in what you're providing them, and yet they're not paying the true cost of that program, then basically you're agreeing to help subsidize that program for them. And so at least if you're delivering kind of a good quality security program, you have reduced the chances of them being hacked. And that's really a positive thing here. But then at the same time, you're also sacrificing revenue and what you could be earning from them. And so that ultimately is just a business decision that you're making for your business. You know, you're agreeing to earn less because you don't want to lose them as a client. And I think you're also just taking at face value that they can't pay the appropriate rate for your services. And again, I don't mean to sound curt, I don't mean to sound blunt, but security isn't a nice to have for organizations anymore. You can't accept, you know, we can't really afford it as an excuse from your customers. This is something that organizations need to take seriously, and they need to properly budget for it. And that's your job to help them with that. Because, you know, this is so critical in today's day and age. And my feeling is that these organizations, I think they're taking you for granted. And as a result, they're putting your livelihood at risk. Because what would happen if you told them that, you know, you can no longer have them on as a client, but, you know, you would graciously transfer them over to any other MSP that they would like to use. And if they had to go out and go market and try and find a new MSP for themselves, they are going to be forced to likely have to pay what the true market cost of a security program is with that other MSP. And they would then be forced to find the money to do that. They would be forced to budget for it. But ultimately, it comes down to you as the business owner and the risk that you're willing to accept for yourself and your business. And the way I see this, it's an imbalance. You know, you're taking on most of the risk because you have clients that won't pay their fair share of what they should be paying, but they expect your services. And so if you decide to continue on in this manner, at a minimum, I would encourage you then to go work with your legal counsel, have them draw up some sort of limited liability waiver, have those customers sign that waiver, agreeing to the fact that they are non-compliant to your security recommendations so that they can't hold you responsible should they get breached. You know, at a minimum, you have to start putting the risk back onto them and off of your shoulders. And, you know, kind of going back to what I talked about in the first question or that got asked, and then also have them sign an amendment to your agreement that states that remediation fees, if there's a security incident, are going to be double, triple your time and material rate, and be firm that you're not going to discount that. So at least with this, you're working to reduce your risk, and you're making those bean counters aware that when they are attacked, because we all know it's not about if but when, and then you have to get called in to resolve this, there's a new rate being applied to them.